This has been by far the most wildest week. Really, the most wildest times I've practically really seen. Right? So, obviously, as you see in the title and in the thumbnail, if I got it looking right, the voice of the original Harley Quinn has unfortunately passed away. And, man, it's I don't know what I don't know what to really say about it. It's so a lot of it's not just her death because it's in the world of wrestling too. It's there's just a lot of stuff that has happened to Terry Funk passed away. Bray Wyatt recently just passed away, and he was only 36. And now Arleen as well, and plenty of people has also passed away as well. Bob Barker did this morning, I think like this morning or today, or it was at least announced today that what happened. And it's just like, dang, a lot of this stuff has just happened back to back to back to back. Like, people ain't, it's people are just leaving. People are just leaving, and it's just extremely sad. It's unfortunate, but also it's also like we should take a look at their work as well and also celebrate it in a way because it's like without their work and what they have done, whether it's Arlene or Bray Wyatt or Terry Funk, we wouldn't have a lot of the stuff that we have today, right? Just to quickly kind of go over some of the people, like Terry Funk, without him, we really wouldn't have anything of the hardcore, you know, matches that we have in wrestling and stuff like that. And while I don't necessarily know much about Terry, I do know that he's important when it comes to that scene. Then obviously we have Bray Wyatt, who was honestly very creative. Honestly, one of the more creative minds I have ever really seen when it comes to like the creepy, scary, spooky characters in wrestling, which we really haven't had since The Undertaker that was like really good and popped off like that. From Husky Harris to the Wyatt family to the Fiend to the not lasting long time but Uncle Howdy gimmick of what was happening with that, with the amazing Firefly Funhouse match that I still would say is probably one of the best WrestleMania matches that has ever graced our TV screens, honestly. One of the best. And when it comes down to things, in this short amount of time, he has, you know, been able to get a lot of people's attention. And honestly, a lot of people will miss this man in the wrestling world. And he was amazing with the ideas he has. Honestly, anytime I see, the old white family gimmick of how they have like the teleporting in places of thing with the weird video camera sort of thing with the sheep and stuff, that joke was always like amazing and cool. And also kind of funny because the person at the end sounded like they was talking mid sentence, they got cut off for some reason, but it was still fun, right? But now also too we have Arleen Sorkin. Without Arleen Sorkin, you wouldn't have Harley Quinn. If I'm being honest with you, you wouldn't have that. Literally, you wouldn't, because the only reason why inspiration wise Harley even exists was because I believe Arleen Sorkin was in a play and she dressed up as a clown or a jester. And essentially that was inspired to put Harley in the animated Batman show way back then. That's the only reason why it even worked out in the way it did. Because Harley didn't come from the comics, she came from the actual show itself. That's the reason why. And let's be perfectly honest, the Joker, while yes, he could be a scary threat on his own, there is no possible way he could do this by himself. It wouldn't feel right if it was just him by himself. Oftentimes, when it comes down to things, if Harley wasn't there, the Joker would kind of fall flat. Let's just be perfectly honest with you, right? Let's just be perfectly honest with each other. So it's just again sad that a lot of people in the entertainment industry, especially when it comes to people that has really sat down and just made their mark on the industry like this, it's just gone. Because not I think what last year Kevin Conroy died, and that was like the original Batman from that show too. And like he's supposed to have his voice in the Suicide Squad game, and that was just like another thing too. So that also sucks, you know? Two people of that same show is now just not there anymore. And again, while I may not necessarily grew up in the Arlene era, while I may not necessarily know too much about who that person is, and mainly grew up on the Tara Strong era of things, I still would say I have respect for the past because obviously, if it wasn't for the past, you wouldn't have what you have right now. And even though I don't necessarily, again, grew up on the old version of Harley, I still like the old version of her way more than I do with the newer one, which is why we made the video yesterday talking about how Harley isn't all that great in the modern era because of how they try to change her and things like that. And while, she's still fun at times, a lot of times it's not necessarily as solid as it used to be, which go please watch that video if you haven't. But when it comes down to things, it's just extremely unfortunate that we just lost someone that's really amazing. Because again, without her, we wouldn't have the super iconic female of fictional characters, the probably the most popular icon of like pop culture when it comes to characters to ever really exist and to grace our screens if it wasn't for Arleen Sorkin and her voice and how she did things, right? So again, it's just completely unfortunate, and it just really is sad at the end of all things, right? So honestly, just at this point, I guess you can kind of just say that people really should give their flowers to these people when they're around, to just really anybody that you find that is valuable in your life and things like that, because they're not gonna be here forever, obviously. If we we do have to pass on at some point in time, right? And sometimes you don't necessarily know when it's going to happen. And when it comes down to things, you just need to give them the props here and just give them the respect and love that you want to when it comes down to things. Even if it's not anybody that's popular, it could be your own family, honestly, if that's someone that you're good with. Just give them the props of what they are doing here with you now because they ain't going to be here forever, obviously. If this week has taught you anything, life is precious. That's the biggest thing. And obviously, a lot of the, you know, troubling issues that people have, the arguments that people get into, none of that really means anything because at the end of the day, you know, people are going to pass away, and it just is a natural part of life. No matter if we like it or not, you know, there's just some things you just can't run from. So when it comes down to things, you know, just give they flowers when they're here, and especially when it comes to people like Terry Funk or Bray Wyatt or Arleen Sorkin. Just thank you for the amazing things that you have done and for the amount of things that you have, provided for the industry and for creating different things and characters that people for the rest of their lives will remember and keep that legacy going on in different ways, whether it's, things that people like or maybe not like. It is what it is. But at the same time, as long as the legacy kind of continues, that's really kind of all that matters, right? And for a personal note, I ain't gonna keep this long for me, but it just again strange time, and we literally just talked about her not literally yesterday, and then hear this news and how I was saying, oh, classic Harley was cool because she could have been a person with like that's kind of directionless, like someone that has to be self-discovering something, and how DC could tell that type of story, but they just don't. And it's just a coincidence how we have that. Not only that, at least for with the things we do on this channel, and not only that video, but I was also planning on doing a wife of material video on Harley. Now I'm really gonna do it, and then I was also gonna add her to the Koikatsu story, which I've already made a scene for her to be in the story. In fact, I'll share it with you now, where there's gonna be a reason why she's gonna be interjecting herself into that story. So you know that's also like a thing. And again, it's just some timing. It's just some strange coincidental timing. That's kind of really all it is. But again, not trying to make this about me, but it's just interesting how all this has kind of played out at the timing it did. But Regardless, when it comes down to things, again, to every single person that has lost their life and been a part of our childhood, that has been a part of our, escapism and things of that sort, they will definitely 100% be missed. And without them, we wouldn't have the stuff we have today. So, again, thank you to each Terry Funk, Bray Wyatt, and Arleen Sorkin, and all the people that has also lost their lives recently in these years. So that's essentially all I have for you for this one. I don't necessarily know what I could potentially even add to this, but that's essentially what I wanted to do because I just feel like because we talked about her yesterday, or at least the character, I wanted to kind of bring this up in some shape or form. It was not planned, obviously, but it's what's on my mind at the moment, and it's just is what it is. So yeah, hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe. Obviously, links and stuff like that is in the description. You already know what it is. And until then, this is your boy Jay. Sign off. Have a blessed day.